There is a story we have been telling ourselves for decades, a story woven into the fabric of our cinema screens and paperback novels and late-night imaginings about what lies beyond the dark. It goes something like this. Somewhere out there, in some distant corner of the cosmos, an intelligence far greater than our own has cracked the code of interstellar travel. They have built ships of incomprehensible scale, mastered the bending of space, tamed wormholes, and are, at this very moment, crossing the stars toward us. We picture first contact as a matter of engineering. We assume that a civilization sufficiently advanced will simply solve the problem the way we solve the problem of flight or the atom, and then arrive. I want to dismantle that story completely. Not because it is unpleasant to dismantle, but because the truth hiding behind it is so much more staggering, so much more geometrically violent, that our comfortable science fiction myths begin to look like crayon drawings held up against the actual architecture of space-time. The reason no alien civilization will ever reach us is not a failure of imagination on their part. It is not a shortage of fuel or willpower or technological ambition. It is something deeper and more absolute. It is the universe itself, the very fabric of space and time, and the laws that govern their behavior, acting as an impenetrable physical wall that no amount of ingenuity can dismantle. To understand this properly, I want you to picture something. Picture an ocean. Not the ocean you know, with its finite shores and familiar tides, but an ocean of infinite breadth, stretching outward in every direction without boundary, without end. Across this ocean, scattered at distances of hundreds of miles from one another, float tiny paper boats, fragile, isolated, each one carrying its own civilization, its own history, its own questions about whether anyone else might be out there. Now imagine that a traveler on one of these paper boats looks out across the black water and decides to sail toward a distant vessel on the horizon. They build the fastest ship they can conceive of. They fuel it. They set sail. And then something happens. The ocean itself begins to swell. New water materializes between the two boats, not at the edges, not somewhere far away, but everywhere, within the very space the traveler is trying to cross. The gap that was 100 miles when they set sail is now 200 miles. The gap that was 200 miles is now 400. The traveler is moving at the absolute maximum velocity physics permits, and the ocean is expanding beneath them faster than they can cross it. The destination is not stationary, it is retreating. Not because it chose to move, but because the medium between them is growing, swelling with the relentless mathematics of expansion. That ocean is our universe. Those paper boats are civilizations. And the swelling is not a metaphor. It is one of the most precisely measured physical realities in the history of science. Let us begin with the most fundamental constraint, the speed of light, 186,000 miles every second. It sounds extraordinary until you hold it against the actual scale of the cosmos, at which point it begins to sound almost pathetically slow. The nearest star system to our Sun, Alpha Centauri, sits approximately 4.2 light-years away. At the speed of light itself, the theoretical maximum velocity in the universe, a journey there would take 4.2 years. The center of the Milky Way is 26,000 light-years distant. The Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest large cosmic neighbor, sits 2.5 million light-years away, and these are our immediate neighbors. The observable universe stretches 46 billion light-years in every direction. Now here is where special relativity introduces its cold and pitiless mathematics. Nothing with mass can travel at the speed of light. This is not a technological limitation. It is a geometric feature of space-time. As any object with mass accelerates toward the speed of light, something happens to its energy requirements. The amount of energy needed to accelerate that object does not merely increase, it increases without limit. The mathematics are unambiguous. As velocity approaches the speed of light, the effective mass of the object, measured from the perspective of an outside observer, climbs toward infinity. An infinite mass requires infinite energy to accelerate. The universe does not contain infinite energy in any accessible form. Therefore, no ship, no matter how sophisticated, no matter how vast the civilization that built it, can ever reach the speed of light. Even a civilization that could somehow harness the entire energy output of their star, the way a Kardashev Type II civilization theoretically might, could not build a vessel that crosses the void between galaxies in any reasonable time. A ship traveling at 99% the speed of light, requiring energies so astronomical they strain every unit of measurement we possess, would still take 2.5 million years to reach the Andromeda Galaxy. For those on board, the journey might feel shorter due to relativistic time dilation. Time moves differently for a traveler moving at relativistic speeds. But for the civilization they left behind, for the universe they are moving through, millions of years still pass. The crew, if biological, decays. Entropy claims them. Even the most sophisticated life support systems face the thermodynamic arrow of time. That ship does not carry passengers, it carries ruins. But even this, the raw speed limit and the energy penalty of mass, is only the beginning of the story. The deeper truth, the one that seals the cosmic isolation with mathematical permanence, comes from general relativity and the large-scale dynamics of the universe itself. The universe is not static. It is expanding. Not expanding into something, not expanding the way an explosion expands, but expanding in the sense that the space between all points is continuously increasing. The metric of space-time is growing, and the rate at which it grows is not uniform. On small scales, the gravity binding galaxies and galaxy clusters together is sufficient to hold them intact against this expansion. But on the largest scales, across the hundreds of millions and billions of light years that separate us from the most distant regions of the cosmos, the expansion dominates completely. Edwin Hubble observed in the early 20th century that galaxies were receding from us at velocities proportional to their distances. The further a galaxy, the faster it appears to move away. This is Hubble's law, and its implications, when taken to their logical extreme, are staggering, because at some distance, that recession velocity reaches the speed of light. Not because those galaxies are physically moving through space at that rate, but because the space between us and them is expanding at that rate. Objects can recede from us faster than light travels through space when it is the space itself that is growing. There is no violation of special relativity here. The limit of light speed applies to motion through space, not to the expansion of space itself. This creates what physicists call the cosmological horizon, a sphere centered on each observer, beyond which no signal, no photon, no gravitational wave, no alien transmission can ever reach us, because the space between us and that region is growing faster than light can traverse it. And crucially, the universe beyond this horizon is not merely distant, it is permanently beyond our reach. A civilization born 10 billion light years away is not only separated from us by unimaginable distance, it is locked inside its own bubble of observable space-time, a bubble whose walls are defined by the same cosmological expansion that defines ours. Their horizon excludes us, our horizon excludes them. The separation is not a matter of travel time. It is a matter of causal disconnection. The laws of the universe have drawn closed circles around every sufficiently distant civilization, and those circles will never overlap. This expansion is moreover accelerating. Something physicists call dark energy, a name that is really just an elegant label for our profound ignorance of its nature, is driving the expansion of space to increase in velocity over time. The most distant galaxies we can observe today are receding from us faster than they were 1 billion years ago. In another few billion years, they will recede faster still. The universe is not settling into a stable configuration. It is racing outward with increasing urgency, and the cosmological horizon around each civilization is slowly shrinking in terms of what remains accessible. The cosmos is not merely large, it is closing itself off progressively and permanently. And now comes the third dimension of this isolation, the one that most quietly devastates the last remaining hope of contact: time, or more precisely, the appalling mismatch between civilizational timescales and cosmic timescales. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. In that span, countless stars have formed, lived, and died. Countless planets have coalesced from stellar debris, cooled, and perhaps allowed chemistry to reach the staggering complexity we call life. Perhaps many did. Perhaps intelligence arose in scores of places across the cosmos, civilizations that asked the same questions we ask, looked at the same dark sky, and wondered the same things. But the communicative and spacefaring lifespan of any technological species is not measured in billions of years. It is measured in centuries, perhaps millennia, perhaps tens of thousands of years if a species is extraordinarily durable and fortunate. Consider the thermodynamic reality of civilization. Complex, organized systems, and civilization is among the most complex organized systems we know of, require constant energy input to maintain themselves against the relentless increase of entropy. Stars change, environments shift. Internal social and biological pressures accumulate. A civilization that achieves radio technology and develops the capacity for space exploration occupies a window in time that is almost certainly a microscopic fraction of the total age of the universe. When we measure that window against the backdrop of 13.8 billion years, we are measuring something like a single camera flash in the lifetime of a continent. Two camera flashes on two separate continents, fired at random moments across billions of years, are extraordinarily unlikely to overlap. Even in a galaxy teeming with civilizations, the temporal alignment problem is crushing. An alien empire that developed interstellar travel a billion years ago has already completed its civilization. Whatever it left behind, if anything, is not a crew of living beings navigating toward our coordinates. It is archaeological silence at civilizational scale. The physics do not merely make arrival difficult, they make the very coordination of existence across deep time essentially impossible. Even setting aside the speed limit, even granting some hypothetical propulsion system that approaches the maximum velocity physics permits, the journey from a neighboring star system takes years. The journey from the galactic center takes tens of thousands of years. The journey from the nearest galaxy takes millions of years. No biological civilization survives that crossing in any recognizable form. No civilization can aim a ship at coordinates that will be relevant millions of years in the future at an accurately predicted location. The universe itself will have rearranged significantly by arrival. What does all of this leave us with? Not despair, not the hollow sensation of a universe that has turned its back on us, something far more precise and far more remarkable than despair. It leaves us with the understanding that our awareness, this localized, improbable, fleeting capacity for self-examination that we carry around inside our skulls, is one of the rarest and most fragile things the universe has managed to produce. We are not isolated because we are unworthy of contact. We are isolated because the universe is built from mathematics that do not accommodate the kind of casual cosmic neighborhood we imagined in our science fiction. The geometry of space-time, the acceleration of expansion, the thermodynamic constraints on complex systems, these are not obstacles to be engineered around. They are the fundamental structure of the place we inhabit. There is a certain cold elegance to this. A civilization that once looked at the night sky and imagined visitors coming through the dark now looks at the same sky with equations, with measurements of Hubble constants and relativistic mass penalties and causal horizons, and finds something more profound than the myth it replaced. The universe is not full of ships heading toward us. It is full of isolated glowing embers, each burning briefly in the dark, each surrounded by the same mathematical walls, each perhaps asking the same questions, each arriving at the same silence. And the silence itself is not emptiness. It is the universe being precisely what the laws of physics require it to be. That is not something to grieve. That is something to hold with a kind of stunned, quiet reverence. Our existence is brief. Our window of awareness in this 13.8 billion-year-old dark is a flash. But it is our flash. And understanding the precise, uncompromising physics that makes it solitary is not a diminishment of that light. It is the deepest form of seeing it clearly.